The gangster rap world has been shaken again, this time by the violent death of the performer known as Notorious B.I.G.
New footage of Biggie's drive-by shooting just surfaced, and nah, it ain't just old clips. Secrets, hidden moves, and shocking truths hit the streets. Join us as this one gets wild. The newly revealed footage, what dropped in 50 Cent's Netflix series, wasn't just another doc scene. Nah, this was one of those moments that makes everybody freeze like, hold on, what did we just see right now? Folks have been talking about Biggie's case for almost 3 decades, but this new clip pulled out the kind of receipts nobody even knew existed. The moment it hit the screen, the whole internet went into that collective "nah, you lying" mode. Because this wasn't recycled footage, old news, or some blurry fan theory. This was something nobody expected the world to ever lay eyes on. The scene didn't pop up with some dramatic intro or warning. It slid in quiet, almost sneaky, like it had been waiting all these years for the right second to blow everything open. And once that frame lit up, it became real clear why this piece of tape stayed buried for so long. The angle was too sharp, too clean, too close. Like someone knew exactly what they were filming that night. And that alone had the streets buzzing. The footage came from a camera nobody ever discussed before. Not the museum cameras, not the hotel cams everybody talked about. This one looked like it came from higher up, tucked somewhere out of sight, capturing things the original investigators either never asked for or never wanted to talk about. Suddenly, the whole timeline of Biggie's final moments didn't feel so simple anymore. Every shadow, every vehicle, every tiny movement that people overlooked for years now felt like a clue. There was the SUV Biggie was riding in, headlights glaring, engine humming low. There was the flow of traffic by the museum, regular people living regular lives not knowing they were seconds from witnessing history's biggest hip-hop loss. And then, out of nowhere, that mystery car creeped into frame. Slow, too slow, like whoever was behind the wheel wasn't lost, wasn't confused, wasn't just passing by. Nah, this looked deliberate, calculated, cold. The internet caught on instantly. People started freezing the clip, zooming in, enhancing frames like they were detectives themselves. And the crazy part? Things started lining up with rumors people whispered about for years. Little details folks brushed off suddenly started making too much sense. The tint, the driver's posture, the way the car glided up without hesitation. All those missing pieces finally had a shape. What hit the hardest wasn't just what the footage showed, but what it suggested. Like someone out there had this the whole time, like someone chose silence over truth. And the doc didn't outright say it, but you could feel the weight of that possibility in the narration, in the pacing, in the way the whole scene was presented. Quiet, heavy, suspicious. And just when viewers thought they processed what they were seeing, there was this tiny detail at the edge of the frame, something easy to miss, something that made everyone go, nah, hold up, we need answers for that. Because if that tiny detail means what people think it means, then the story of Biggie's final night isn't just incomplete. It's been told sideways since day one. So keep watching for the most interesting part. Breaking down the night Biggie was taken. Once that new clip shook everybody awake, the whole story of that night hit differently. The vibe in Los Angeles on March 9th wasn't loud or chaotic. Nah, it was one of those nights that felt regular on the surface, but had something strange in the air if you paid attention. Biggie had been moving around with his crew, doing the industry rounds, smiling for cameras, showing love, promoting, enjoying the moment even though he knew the coast wasn't exactly the safest place for him right then. The Peterson party was packed, industry heads everywhere, music blasting, folks laughing, mingling, doing what people do at events where everybody wants to be seen. But behind all the lights and chatter, there was something more tense simmering. Biggie wasn't rolling recklessly. He had security, he had his circle, he stuck to the script. But even with all that, you could tell he felt the weight of being who he was at that time. Fame hits differently when danger has been shadowing you all year. When the event wrapped and everybody spilled outside, the sidewalks were buzzing, cars lined up, people calling out, cameras flashing. It was one of those moments where time moves fast but feels slow. Biggie walked out with that calm confidence, climbed into the SUV, settled in. The convoy started pulling off. Smooth, controlled. Nobody thought they were seconds away from something that would shake the world forever. The traffic light on Fairfax turned red, stopping the whole line. And this is the part that always disturbed people. That pause, that moment of stillness, cars idling, engines low. Biggie leaning back in the passenger seat, his team in the vehicle ahead talking among themselves. Nothing unusual, just a regular stop at a regular light. Then it happened. That mystery car rolled up on the right side with the kind of precision that made the new footage feel even more unsettling. It didn't wobble, it didn't hesitate, it moved like it knew exactly where to be. The driver kept this steady posture, calm in a way nobody expected from someone about to do something that cold. In a split second, the window slid down. The shots rang out sharp and fast, echoing off the buildings like cracks in the air. People froze, security panicked, tires screeched, the entire convoy jolted into chaos. And Biggie, the king of Brooklyn, the voice that changed hip-hop forever, had been hit before anyone could react. The suspect vehicle didn't speed off wildly. Nah, that's the part everybody always found strange. It glided away, smoothly, disappearing into the night like it had done this before. Like the city opened a path for it, like the whole hit was planned down to the last breath. In the aftermath, the only thing louder than the sirens was the silence from the people who should have known more. Witnesses said one thing, cops said another, and somewhere between all those stories, the truth slipped through the cracks. But now that this new footage resurfaced, things that never made sense suddenly look way too deliberate. And if the tape is right, then someone out there knew exactly how that night was gonna end long before Biggie even left the party. And this is where things get wilder. Clues people ignore. Clues investigators brushed off. Clues that change everything once you really look at them. Hidden clues in the footage. People missed for 27 years. The moment folks started slowing the footage down frame by frame, that's when the real madness kicked in. Because suddenly, everybody realized this wasn't just some random clip tossed into a documentary for shock value. Nah, this was the kind of evidence that makes you sit up straight, like, hold up, how did nobody catch this before? Every second of that tape had something tucked inside it, like the truth had been hiding in plain sight the whole time while the world looked everywhere else. The first thing people noticed was the timing. The way that mystery car eased up wasn't natural at all. It didn't pull in from the back like a car trying to squeeze through traffic. It didn't come from the left where the lane was open. Nah, it came from this weird angle, almost like it had been waiting off camera until the exact moment Biggie's SUV got trapped at the light. That positioning alone had folks side-eyeing the whole situation like someone knew the route before Biggie even left the party. Then there was the driver. The new angle gave just enough of a silhouette to start an entire online investigation overnight. You couldn't see the face clean, but you could catch the posture, the calmness. The way the person held the wheel with this steady grip didn't match the chaos that was about to go down. People were like, nah, this ain't somebody panicking or acting out of emotion. This was someone who came with a mission, kept it quiet, and dipped without a flicker of fear. The next thing that got everybody talking was the flash. Not the muzzle flash, the reflection off the chrome on the suspect vehicle right before the shots. A tiny glint bouncing off the windshield of the SUV ahead. Something about that flash made people go back and replay the scene over and over because it felt like a marker, like someone had signaled or adjusted something right before pulling the trigger. Nobody had ever mentioned that before, not once, not in any interview or any police summary. And the craziest part came from the background. Something small, something nobody ever bothered to look at the very far corner of the frame, behind the line of cars, behind the noise. There was this faint movement, like another vehicle creeping, then stopping, then backing off. Too smooth to be random, too quiet to be innocent. People online started wondering if there was a second witness lurking there. Or worse, another piece of the plan. The tape didn't scream these clues out loud. It whispered to them, soft, dangerous. The kind of whispers that only make sense when you've been waiting decades for answers, and suddenly everything starts clicking into place. And now that folks caught all these details, the big question is why none of this was brought up back when the case was fresh. Because if the footage really shows all this, then somebody somewhere had to know this angle existed. Somebody had to look at this years ago and decide the world wasn't ready to see it. And that takes us straight into the next layer. Because once you start asking why this footage stayed hidden for so long, the whole investigation starts looking way more twisted than anyone ever admitted. Why this evidence stayed buried for so long. Once people started breaking down all those hidden details in the tape, the next question hit harder than anything shown on screen. Why did this footage sleep for almost 30 years? Like how something this sharp, this important, this game-changing stays locked away, while the world keeps arguing about who really took Biggie's life. And the more folks dug into that question, the more the whole situation started smelling funny. Not regular oversight funny. Nah, more like somebody somewhere didn't want these angles ever seeing daylight. From the jump, the case was messy. Too many voices, too many theories, too many hands touching evidence that should have been handled clean. So, when this tape suddenly pops up in 50 Cent's series, people couldn't help giving the side eye because footage doesn't just vanish. A camera doesn't just disappear. Somebody had to file it, label it, decide if it mattered. And for this clip to stay unseen for so long, somebody had to make a choice. Some people say the footage might have been tossed into an archive room with thousands of other recordings, forgotten in some dusty storage box. Others think it got flagged early on as too sensitive, too revealing, something that would raise more questions than the department was ready to answer back then. You know how it goes. When things get too close to the real story, suddenly everything becomes classified or missing or locked up in some drawer nobody talks about. And then there's the part that got everybody talking online. The tension between the LAPD and the hip-hop community back in the 90s wasn't small. It wasn't quiet. It was loud and messy, with accusations flying both ways. So, when people realized this tape captured angles the original investigation never mentioned, it didn't take long for the streets to start whispering. Maybe someone didn't want the timeline shaking. Maybe someone wanted the case to stay frozen. Maybe the truth wasn't convenient at the time. What had folks really losing it though was the timing of the reveal. Why now? Why through a Netflix series? Why through 50 Cent of all people? That moved the suspicion from the officers back then to the industry itself. Because when you mix cops, celebrities, labels, money, and a case this high profile together, secrets don't stay buried by accident. They stay buried because it benefits somebody. And let's be real, there's a difference between lost footage and hidden footage. Lost footage gets found by interns and tossed online without a big story behind it. Hidden footage comes out at the perfect moment, the perfect platform, with the perfect narrative surrounding it. This clip didn't stumble out. It arrived. Quiet but intentional. Like someone waited for the world to be paying attention again before dropping it. Now, everybody wants to know who had it, who protected it, and who finally let it loose. Because whatever the reason was back then, one thing is clear now. The tape changes the entire story. It puts pressure on people who thought the case was done and buried. It shoves old questions right back into the spotlight and forces new ones onto the table. And that's exactly where the story shifts next. Because once you start asking who kept this locked up, you also gotta ask who decided to bring it back out. Keep watching to know why 50 Cent and the real reason he pushed this footage into the world. 50 Cent's motivation. When that footage finally hit Netflix, people weren't just shocked. They were buzzing, debating, replaying every second. And the question on everybody's lips? Why 50 Cent? Why now? Nah, this wasn't just some random throwback for clicks. This was calculated. This was intentional. Like he knew the streets, the fans, the culture were ready for it. And honestly, once you think about it, it kind of makes sense. 50 knows the weight of history, the weight of legacy, and the streets. They always feel when something real is about to be shown. From the jump, the series wasn't just about reminiscing or celebrating the old school. Nah, it was a spotlight shining on the parts of the story people never got to see. And when 50 dropped this particular clip, it wasn't framed as loud or flashy. He didn't scream or dramatize. He let it speak. Quiet, heavy, packed with questions, packed with implications. And that's exactly the point. Because the streets don't need someone to tell them what's real. They watch, they notice, they piece it together themselves. There's also the way he layered it. He didn't just show the footage and move on. Nah, he teased it, built the suspense, dropped subtle hints, angles, details that made viewers lean closer, squint, rewind. People started noticing things that had gone unnoticed for decades. And by doing that, 50 put everyone on. The same hunt that investigators should have been on years ago. He put the power of discovery back into the public's hands. Some fans think it's about respect. Some think it's about control. But nah, it's deeper than that. 50 knows the stories that never got told, the angles that never got shared, the truth that's always been partially hidden. And by putting this footage out now, he's not just shocking people. He's forcing the conversation. He's making history active again. And let's not forget the timing. Social media is primed. People dissect everything. The rumors, the fan theories, the old narratives, they all blow up instantly. Releasing it now guarantees it hits hard, spreads fast, and dominates discussion. The clip wasn't just uncovered, it was strategically launched to shake up the culture, remind the world that even decades later, Biggie's story still isn't fully told. The crazy part? The footage alone doesn't answer everything. Nah, it teases, it whispers, it points at secrets and unanswered questions, and that's the brilliance of it. 50 didn't just show a video. He built a trap of intrigue, suspense, and street-level detective work that keeps people talking, keeps theories alive, and keeps the mystery simmering. Everyone wants to know how the community and Biggie's family are processing this decades-late revelation. Shockwaves through hip-hop. As soon as the footage went public, the streets lit up like never before. Social media was buzzing, blogs exploded, and the forums that live for old-school hip-hop receipts were straight up wilding. Nah, people weren't just talking, they were dissecting, replaying, pausing, zooming in. Every second became a debate. Who was driving that car? Was this angle really new? Could this finally answer the questions that have haunted the culture for decades? The energy was electric, raw, and full of that gossipy curiosity that only hip-hop could bring. Artists from all corners of the game jumped in. Some were respectful, some skeptical, some outright shook. Legends and younger MCs alike started dropping reactions, theories, and takes. The mix of reverence and disbelief showed just how deep Biggie's influence runs. People weren't just shocked by the footage, they were realizing that history had a new layer now, one that could flip old narratives and challenge what everyone thought they knew about that fateful night. Biggie's family, meanwhile, felt it in a different way. Valletta Wallace, his mother, has always been protective of his legacy, keeping it close, keeping it sacred. Seeing the footage surface decades later stirred up a whole storm of emotions: pride, pain, anger, and the inevitable questions about what really happened and who's responsible. The footage reminded everyone that while Biggie's music immortalized him, the story of his death still carries weight, still carries unfinished business, still leaves space for whispers and rumors to echo. And fans? Nah, they lost it. Reactions flooded in from everywhere. Some cried, some raged, some just kept rewinding the frames to catch every detail. The viral nature of the clip meant that almost overnight, the conversation went global. It wasn't just about Biggie the rapper anymore. It was about Biggie the man, the story, the culture, and the unanswered mysteries tied to his final moments. Every comment, every post, every thread was alive with theories, hot takes, and street-level detective work. The reactions also reignited debates about the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, the police investigations, and the theories connecting Biggie and Tupac. Some voices in the community questioned whether justice was ever truly served, while others focused on the lessons and legacies left behind. And as the conversation rages on, one thing is clear. The footage isn't just a viral moment, it's a cultural event. A moment that forced fans, family, and the hip-hop world to revisit a story that many thought had been told long ago. New eyes, new questions, new debates. And the streets? They're paying attention, hungry for more, ready to connect the dots that have been left dangling for far too long. And with that, the full picture of Biggie's final night, the mystery, the clues, and the reactions all collide, leaving the world questioning everything they thought they knew. And that's exactly the story 50 Cent wanted to spark.